Hello and welcome to another edition of the Happyness Helix Podcast. Today's guest is a very interesting person. The name is Manisha, and she is a designer. And she's created for some of the most well-known brands in the world. And somewhere along the line, she decided to create an Indic clothing brand. And so today, she has co-founded, and runs Adiwalka, which is Indic clothing. I am attired in Adiwalka clothing, and I find them to be extremely comfortable. And today's episode is going to focus on all things clothing, from where the history of clothing started, what are the kinds of fabrics, what are the design elements that somebody like Manisha considers when she designs clothing. What is the form, what is the function, the importance of geographic area, the kind of climate, the kind of function for which the clothing is going to be worn. All of that, we're going to be talking about it. And a few other interesting things which Manisha herself might not be aware that I have as planned as surprises for her. So it is an absolute pleasure for me to have Manisha on the show. Manisha, thank you very much for being here, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here, GS. It's absolute pleasure to have conversation with you.
So, again, many people know me by various names. So, I was one of 5 Srinivasans in class 7, so I became GS. So, a lot of people in my life know me as GS. Many of my close friends and family know me as Cheenu. So if there is a GS and I introduce myself Cheenu, we are not two different people, so that's okay. Yeah, and you stick with GS because that comes naturally, and people know me as GS as well. So the title of the podcast, Manisha, is the Happyness Helix Podcast, and I start all of the episodes, all of the recordings that we do for the podcast with an explanation of what the helix is. Why? Because I don't want people to be able, I don't want them to be searching for what is the helix. Very, very simple Happyness Helix. It has about 6 landings or 6 points, and it's a spiral going up. Or it can go down. Right? The slide is faster. Going up takes a certain amount of effort. So the 6 points on the Happyness Helix going up starts with this moment. And this moment, it starts with me taking responsibility for who, how, what, where I am. If I do that, chances are that I will have a good attitude, which is the second landing. I will have an attitude that focuses on solutions rather than problems. If I take responsibility, I have a good attitude, gets me to the third landing, which is I will have a larger circle of friends, supporters, well-wishers, call it what you may. I can rely on a lot of people. Right? For example, because I know you, I've requested you to design the logo for the Happyness Helix podcast, and I want a certain element. And I like what you say, which is, I want to know what it means to you before I can design it. So this is also something that I'm telling you what it means. So if I have a large, wide circle of resources, well-wishers, people, supporters, right? Chances are that I will be able to set and achieve my goals, my objectives by design. Right? That's landing 4. And if I set and achieve goals consistently, predictably, and I know that I have a support system, I know I have a great attitude, I know that I'm taking responsibility, all of it will lead to the 5th landing, which is I'll have greater self-confidence, belief. Anything's possible. And once I do that, I will go to the sixth landing, which is I will take on larger than me kind of objective. So it will not be selfish objectives. I'll be looking at how can I make a difference in this planet. For example, this podcast is one such, right? I could just focus on what I was doing, happy, live in my own cocoon. I had to do a lot of things where I said, you know what, does it matter what other people think of me? And I realized that what I thought of myself mattered more than what other people thought of me. Which is possible because I had greater self-confidence, self-belief. And I said, you know what? What's the worst that will happen? People will think that I'm an idiot. It's okay. I don't become an idiot because somebody thinks that I'm an idiot. So then it's a helix that goes up and up and up. Converse, the unhappiness slide. So the way I picture it is that going up, it's almost like the DNA double helix, like a rope ladder, or steps going up and up and up. But going down, it's a slide. It starts slow, but it gets really, really fast. So the starting point of the slide is also this moment where I don't take responsibility. I blame everybody starting from anything. And I'm complaining, why is my life so bleeped up kind of thing. In this case, I will be looking at problems rather than solutions. I've been looking at all the things that don't exist for me in my life. So, landing one, I don't take responsibility. But point 2 on the slide, I'm going to have a lousy attitude. Which leads me to point 3 on the slide, which is people will not want me around them. They might not want to even support me. Even if they do, they're doing it grudgingly. Which leads me to the 4th point on the slide, which is I might not achieve my objectives consistently. Which leads me to the 5th point, which is my self-confidence will further deplete. And I'll look at everything and I'll say, oh, life is so bleak. And then it leads me to the 6th point, which is I will take on smaller and smaller and smaller selfish, focused on me kind of objectives. So, first question, and this is the first question I all ask people. How does this sound to you and what are your thoughts on this?
To be very frank, it's an amazing concept. The way how you have put them in the words is so easy to understand. First time when I heard or watched your podcast, first episode, when you explained this thing to me, to the audience, I was like, it is this simple to understand everything. To understand, to reach here, we have to experience so many things and read so many books and, have chat with experienced people, and some of the experience we ourselves have to go through to understand. But then when I heard your talk, I was like, it's this simple to understand, and it really, really inspired me. And I could easily, relate my daily life where I feel high, where I feel low, and then immediately, no, I'm going towards the slide. Now, let me just put an effort to move towards helix. This is the conscious effort which I'm making on daily basis after I watched your first episode of the podcast. So I really, really like this. And I've started talking like this with my son also.
Lovely.
Yes. Lovely. Yeah.
Lovely. So, happiness, right? The first question that you asked me when I invited you as a guest on the podcast was, why me? Right? You said, oh, well, what will I talk about? What we will talk about is everything that you want to talk about. Because my personal belief belief is when I don't know. When I know, I don't have to believe. So the knowledge that I have, my personal reality is that there is nobody who is less or more than anybody else. Each and every one of us is unique. Each and every one of our stories and our perspectives on life are extremely important. And it needs to be shared. And I found in you a very, very unique blend of things, right? And so you are a person of many parts, right? So right now, one of the avatars that you have is that you design clothing, you have co-founded and run Adiwalka, right? Before that, you worked for all the names that can be worth mentioning, right? Gucci, Armani, Prada, and you have created designs that have been displayed by models who wear those brands. So you've done a lot of work in that area. I also know that you're extremely interested. You are a practitioner of yoga as well. And that is a keen area of interest. And you have learned from the best of the best. I also know, I've done some homework, that you derive your inspiration for many things, not strictly from a logical, intellectual place. And you derive your inspiration from the source. You might, people can call it anything. What do you call that? That source for you, what is the title that you give it?
I mean, nobody has asked me this question till now. Yes, I'm really happy that you're asking me, because even if I have to say in one word, I would say that's me, what I see myself.
Correct.
In that inspiration. I mean, that source, what you're saying, many times that inspiration would be like my parents, my childhood, and the way how we lived together, led the life, what lessons I learned from them. It was not always taught to us through words, but seeing them, how they led their life, a lot of things we have learned. So I draw a lot of inspirations from them, the way how I live or how I make the choices in the life. And even when it comes to designing, I always think if I were in that place as a buyer, if my parents were in that place who had to approve this, in that angle, I always put myself there. See, if I approve as a buyer, not just as a designer, only then I take a call on going ahead with that idea. So that's connected to my personal life, childhood and all. Other than this, there are many other sources like temples, dancers, coloring paitu, yoga, a lot of things like, everything which is connected to our Indic culture. Like there are many art forms in our country. And I love the way, how our ancestors connect that flora and fauna in everything, in art form, or even you read the books or some poems, poetry, everywhere they are there. I mean, I have different sources of inspiration, temples and dancers. I love watching dancers, not just dancing, their lifestyle, how disciplined they are, and they are so multi-talented. They just don't learn dance. They have to learn the lyrics and the meaning behind the lyrics. Sometimes they have to write the lyrics. For that, they should know a lot of things, So all those things inspires me, And then Kalari Paichu, it's like their body moves and they are so fast in the moves. And then they just wear that one dhoti piece with a cloth belt, and so much they do. I'll be so amazed to watch them doing so many things with just one piece of cloth tying around them. Yoga and our arts, different forms of arts in India. All these things inspires me. And a simple thing, when I do the puja, when I see the God's paintings, even that, there also I keep seeing the photos every day, but still every day I feel there's something new there for me to see and learn, to inspire me, So these are the little things which inspires me on daily basis, and they stay with me always. Whenever I want to do something, they're always there in my mind, and they always give me some ideas. I take some from here, I take some from here. They everywhere I put them together, and they look really good. That's how I design the collections for Adiwalka.
Lovely. They say that in our Sanatana Dharma, we have Shiva and Shakti, Vishnu and Lakshmi. So there is always the combination of the masculine and the feminine. Right? And I always keep saying that, question that people ask me is, is there a God sometimes? They say, what, I don't really care. I just look at what is there in existence. And I also tell people that the strongest and most powerful thing is a mother's love. Right? Because that is the closest you can get to unconditional love. Everything else can be conditional. So when you said, the reason I'm saying this is, it's not to sound mushy and all of that, but when you said that I will look at it from my parents' perspective, I will see if they will approve this, right? I think that says a lot, because you did mention, how I was brought up, the way the family, right? So I'm going to ask you a question. So where did you grow up? And tell me a little about, how it was growing up, and what led you? When did you know that, I want to be doing something in this, right? Not the standard template that most people have, which is science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or some commerce, everything, right? I think that most in India, we have lost. Everybody who's doing some art, they've always had to have something else, right? Growing up, I wanted to be a chef. Okay? So hopefully someday Cheenu's Cafe will happen, because I have a book where I write down certain recipes that I want to create.
Wow.
Right? But then people told me that then I wanted to be a cricketer. They said, and my mother asked me this question, do you think cricket will feed you? So back then, I couldn't really say yes. Even today, I don't think it's possible to say yes, because it's only a very small percentage of people who make it to the top. And people always look at the top, right? So tell us a little about your childhood, because you mentioned that your childhood has a lot to do with how you approach design and all of that. So for people to know you, Adiwalka, and the concept behind Adiwalka, the design, we'll have to definitely know your life. When did you choose to become a designer? When did you choose to walk the path that you're walking? And how did you know?
I actually come from a South Indian family, very orthodox and conservative. At the same time, they had given us, I have two more siblings, we are three sisters. My parents gave us so much freedom. I think none of our cousins had so much freedom to explore everything in the life. So I am born and brought up in Bangalore. I did schooling also in Bangalore. Bangalore has been everything for me, actually. And then it's like this designing is like, I can't say like when it came to my mind, because my mother was a extremely talented lady. She used to do hand embroidery, she used to do crochet, knitting, and then some wall hangings with hand embroideries or crochet. She used to mix all these skills together and do something else, some innovative things. And she used to pick up fabrics for us from different shops and design our clothes. She used to go to the tailor and tell them how to do the mix and match and do, some unique dresses for us. And she used to do the bead work, and using the beads, she used to make the toys. So many things she used to do. So it's like from my birth, I have seen her doing these things. So it was always there with, as an inspiration. Like I saw these things and I grew up along with these kind of arts always happening in the house. So I think usually when we reach to 10th is when people start asking what you want to become. That's the time where everybody have to take a call. So when I came to 10th, that was a common question asked by everybody because I was not even going to the tuitions. 10th is something where parents also push children to go to the tuitions, and it's like a common ritual for every child to at least join to maths and science. And my sisters also did the same thing. They also went to the tuitions, and they felt that those two subjects are really important for the career and all. In my case, for me, every subject was same. I was like, no, I don't want tuitions. Whatever I do, I just do it by my own. That was my call. So my mother was a little worried. Where is she going? Which direction is she going? She doesn't want to go to tuitions. If her percentage drops down, she may not get into science. All these things. And my father was an astrologer as well, along with whatever he was doing. So he checked, like that was a common practice for him to check our horoscopes once in a while and see what's happening. So then he came up and said, one day we were just having dinner, and then my mom, as usual, was telling, like, you're the only one who doesn't spend more time with the books. The other two does, all those things. And I very well remember this. My father was mixing the curd rice, and then he was coolly said, Cheenu is my pet name. Cheenu will not do science, commerce, arts and all. She has something else in her destiny. That's what he told. And then I just looked at him, and then I told, I want to, like there were two options for me. One, I wanted to do hotel management or fashion designing at that time. So I told him, I want to do hotel management or fashion designing. And then, you know how parents talk when you say these things. Hotel management, why do you want to go to college to learn hotel management? Work with your mother in the kitchen, you will learn. That was the dialogue. And then when I said, okay, fashion designing, so why do you have to go to college for that? Just go and sit in a tailor shop, you will learn designing. Like that. My mother especially, she was telling, because for her everything came naturally. She saw neighbors doing something, she picked up and she was doing. So she's like, why somebody have to go to college and spend 3 years to learn these things? End of the day, they considered fashion designing is nothing but tailoring, So that's how the debate went on. And then I said, okay, I don't want to do hotel management. I want to do fashion designing. I've decided. And then that's it, over. And it was fixed in my head. I'm going to finish 10th. And then I started doing a little bit of research on that. And then somewhere I got to know to do fashion designing, I don't need 12th.
I didn't know that.
This was then. Now it is must, So they said, I don't need 12th certificate. That excited me all the more. Oh, I'll be done with my education in next 3 years. Oh, then this is superb. I just have to do this now. So, and then I took a call. And then I was like, NIFT is like always in the top of the list. So when I went and inquired, they said that 12th mass card is compulsory.
At NIFT?
At NIFT, yeah. And then in my mind, it was said that I'm not going to do 12th. So the next thing was only diploma, 3 years course. And then at that time, that had a lot of value though. 3 years diploma had a lot of value because that had, in 3 years, we used to cover a lot of subjects, a lot actually. So I decided, and then my parents were not happy with it because they wanted me to do 12th and then do whatever I wanted to do. And I was so stubborn on it. No, I'm not going to do 12th. when there is option to do diploma after 10th and get into the career, why you want me to waste 2 years doing 12th? My arguments were like that. But my parents were really scared because for them, 12th is like basic education. Complete your basic education and then do whatever you want to do. But then, it just happened. Like I joined diploma in fashion designing. I did in Canada India University, that is near Vidhan Sauda. It's a government polytechnic college. There, I got free seat because I had enough the percentage in 10th. So that was really, like wow moment for parents as well. Like they didn't even come with me. I went and I took the application, filled and gave, and I got the seat. Oh yeah.
So you must have been, 15?
Yes.
You were 15?
Yes.
And you walked in and you said, I'm clear. And you walked into a government college and you got a free seat.
Yes.
And you did all by yourself.
Yes. And then I said, yes, I'm here. I got the seat over. And my parents were so shocked, amazed, and at the same time they were so worried for me because I'm not doing 12th and then I'm going to the government college, which is not approved by a lot of people because the certificate will not have value. All these things they had in their mind. At that time, to be very frank, these things didn't bother me at all, JS. It was like, I wanted to do fashion designing, I'm doing fashion designing. And my akkas went to tuitions and they went to good colleges. My parents spent a lot of money. Now they don't have to spend money on me for my education. And that was there in my head. That's it. I was so excited and those 3 years were really good because a lot of work, but it's all about creativity again. A lot of work. Like I also used to tutor 2 children that time.
Tutor in? In the regular subjects?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So my schedule used to be like wake up around 4 or 4:30 in the morning. Every day almost I used to take head bath in cold water so that I don't feel sleepy. And then go to the college. We were in Elachinahalli. From Elachinahalli, Vidhan Sauda. I used to travel every day.
There was no metro then?
No metro. And from Vidhan Sauda, my department of ADFT department was in the other end of the campus. So it was like almost 2 kilometers I had to walk from Vidhan Sauda to reach my college. And then walk back in the evening, go to the tuition's house to tutor 2 children and be back home around 9 in the night, just have dinner and immediately start working on the college work. And I used to sleep only around 2 or 2:30. So I think 3 years continuously I had just 2 or 3 hours maximum sleep, that's all. And there were many nights where I did not even sleep, just I used to finish my practical work, take bath and go to college, finish the college work, go to tuition home, teach children, come back home, continue with the college work, grab some sleep like a couple of hours, then again continue with the same routine. This is how I spent all 3 years in my college.
And did you take a bus or?
Bus.
So the bus travel, were you doing something or did you catch up on some sleep then?
Oh, I used to be very frank, because we had so many things to do. This fashion designing full-time course, when you do, like 24 hours are not enough at all, because that's how much we will have to do the practical work, like sitting in the bus knitting, sitting in the bus hand embroidery, all those things we used to do. And those days were really good, I tell you, because we used to travel by bus, like mostly same time. So same bus driver and conductors used to be there. So they used to observe me every day, literally doing all these things, and otherwise flipping through the books because we will have some tests or exams to attend. So slowly they became friends to me, and they started knowing like what I'm doing, how my schedule is, all those things. And that friendship and that respect, I really don't know what it was, but they always used to save a seat for me.
Wow.
Always from Banashankari to Vidhana Sauda, I've never stood in the bus. I've always got the seat.
This is, I'm interrupting you intentionally. This is the Happyness Helix landing 3. When people like you, right, they will do things for you.
Yes.
And they will like you when you have a good attitude, right? And you have a good attitude when you take responsibility. And you were age 15, 16, 17, 18, that's the time. And you were so focused and responsible for yourself. And in your actions, you were able to convey it to those people. And I'm sure they saw something special in you. Because this simple act of reserving a seat on the bus, it says a lot. There's so much of a backstory to it, right? There's so much of a backstory to it about you. There's so much of a backstory to it about them, right?
Yes.
That they were aware. And I think this also talks to the point that to be human is to care and to share.
Yes.
Right? Yes. I don't think you ever went and told them, and I'm not able to get a place to sit. Nothing. You didn't say it.
No, not at all. Not even once.
Right?
Yes.
And because they saw your perseverance, your dedication, your discipline, I think they said, let's do whatever we can to support this person. So thanks to the driver and the conductor
yes.
for what they did. And people like that who touch so many people's lives. Right? Beautiful. Absolutely amazing. So 15, you knew that you were going to become a fashion designer.
Yes.
And you did it all yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Wow. So 18, you were ready to work.
Yes, this is another amazing story. I must share this with you because I had not completed 18 when I completed diploma.
Wow.
And then I did not wait for the results, exam results, and then just walked out of the house hunting for the jobs. And then, so I don't know if I can mention the company name or not, but maybe, I can. I approached Lovable. It's lingerie brand, So that was on Kanakpur Road, near Konan Kunte, behind L&T. And when I completed diploma, we were staying in Konan Kunte. So it was walkable distance. So I just walked in and said that, I've finished my diploma, but I haven't received my results yet, but I'm looking for a job. And the receptionist over there had a weird smile on her face and that little bit of confusion also. Can somebody come in like this and ask for a job? Like that. But for me, it was like, I'm done. I'm done with the studies. Now it's time for me to do something. Why wait for 2 more months, like that? And they said, okay, fine, you give us your resume. We will pass to the HR department. They will check and if at all your resume suits to our requirement, we will call you. And that time, mobiles were there, but I did not have mobile. So the house number I had given. Then I gave them the resume and I was sitting there because somebody else were talking to me just to understand my background in the reception. So I was sitting and talking to that person. In just 2 minutes, the receptionist came back saying, Manisha, you haven't completed 18 years yet, so we can't take you here. And then I was like, oh my God, then I have to wait for another 6 months. Then I was like, okay, fine. And then I walked out and there was another company which was doing contract manufacturing for all the big companies. So I walked in there casually. I walked in and there I did not say anything. Here is my resume. I'm looking for the job. If there is any requirement, please let me know. And because that's a job work, a company, they need some people who can, do for less payments, like that. And anyway, I was also a beginner. I knew nothing about the industry. I was also looking for getting some experience. They did not have this age criteria, or I'm not sure whether they saw my date of birth.
I was going to ask you, did you have the date of birth in the resume or did you strike it out?
No. See, the resume which I got back from this company is the resume which I forwarded there,
I'm just putting your leg.
Yeah. So same day, all these things happened same day. It's like around 3 o'clock, I walked out from the house. Around 5:30, this is happening in the second company. And they organized for a casual interview there. I spoke whatever they asked, I spoke and I gave the answers, and they were asking me, like, you are a designer. You're saying you are a designer. Will you also work as a merchandiser for us? I said, okay, no problem. Because for me, this was there in my mind. If I have to go back to Louisville, I have to spend time somewhere else for 6 months. So I agreed and they also agreed. And then next day I'm going for the job. Like, after today, yesterday I had completed the exams. Next day I went for hunting for the jobs and I got the job. Third day I'm going for the work.
So, a technical question here, not technical, showing my lack of knowledge on the technology. So, designer I can understand, right? What is a merchandiser?
Merchandiser is their role changes depending on the company and what that company does. Basically, they take care of the products, quality control. They handle the quality control people and making sure that, all the instructions, what is given in the spec sheet. Like, we will have specification sheet for every garment, like how the stitcher should be, which thread to be used, which pattern to be used, or which color, which fabric to be used. All specifications we have to make sure those specifications are followed by all other department down the lane in the production department. It's a bit hectic. And also we have to act as a bridge between buyer and the manufacturer, that is the company. So little hectic compared to designers, a designing job, because we literally have to toil in the production unit. And we will be interacting mostly with production people. So as a beginner and as a young girl, going and talking to the production people who considers that company runs because of them, so that was quite challenging for me because I had no clue how to handle people. And then I'm on the floor and as an in-charger, and you can imagine the challenges what I would have gone through there.
Did you come across that famous statement that I've heard many times in my life? Your age is my experience.
Yes. Many times. But you know what? And I used to respect that initially. Initially, I used to respect that, and I still respect that if the person is delivering the job as per his experience. If he or she is only going to talk about that, I have so many years experience, just because you have worked in certain area for so many years, you can't, expect people to respect you. Your work has to show that, and your experience matters. I mean, when will it show that you are an experienced person? In a critical situation, manage that situation coolly and deliver the work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is what I tell now when people come to me saying that these things keep happening at Tantu Karya, okay? मैम मैं 10 साल उम्र से कर रहा हूँ, मुझे ये मालूम है, मैं आँख बंद करके कर सकता हूँ. अरे ठीक है, मैं चैलेंज आँख बंद करके करने के लिए नहीं देती हूँ, पूरा दोनों आँखें खुला रखकर अभी इसको 1 घंटे में करके दिखाओ. This is how I challenge. Like, if you are really an experienced person, show your expertise here, na? Why show in the words?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. This experience bit, I learned this from Kichu, right? Wherever, we would go and address gatherings, give talks, somewhere they'll say, how do we introduce you? And I picked it up from Kichu, and I would say, just introduce me as Cheenu, happiness coach. It would be better if you just introduce me as Cheenu and nothing more than that. So there's no, but we have to tell. I said, no, I'm going to use that as well. So when I stand in front of the people, I asked them only one question. I said, you know what? If I stand here for the next hour, 2 hours, or for the next day, and for that entire duration of time, I speak absolute nonsense, will you listen to me because of what I've done in my past?
Yeah.
Because of my experience, of my qualifications, so to say. And everybody will say no. Then I'll tell them the next one. I said, if I've been an absolute ass all my life, but I stand here for the next hour, 2 hours, or for the day, and I speak sense as far as you're concerned, does it matter that I've been an ass all my life? They'll say no. So I'd say that this is the only moment that matters. What I do right now is all that matters, right? And I love the fact that you said, a couple of things that I picked up, One is that perseverance, that commitment. Right? I'm not too sure that too many people at age 15 would have had the clarity that you had. Too many people at age 17. The only other person I know at age 17 who started working was my father. Okay? 1st of May 1947, he told me, I started working because I had to work to support the family. It was 17 plus. And so 1929 born, and he was just going to become 18 in August. About 4 or 5 months being short of being 18, he started working. So very few people will have that kind of clarity, right? I have an interesting question. I think it's interesting, right? This wanting to work, what was the inspiration? What was the motivation? What was the reason for you to be so focused and saying that, I'm going to start doing this. Not one day. Exam's done. I need to go out and do something. Where does that come from?
It's like I always saw myself being independent and not depending on anybody for any of my needs. And when I was a child, depending on parents, it was must. And then when I felt that I'm independent and grown enough to earn the money which I need, I should just do that. That's all. And I had that thing always in my head. I always used to tell my parents, soon after I complete the course, I'm going to work. And that's exactly what I did. It's like my older sister, she's just started working after her education. Me being the youngest one, I'm also starting. And my second sister is still studying. So you can imagine the confusion at home, like that. I don't know. I mean, when I walked out from Lovable, taking my resume, I had this strong thought in my head, I'm going to come back here. And exactly after 6 months, I went there as a designer.
Wow.
And I worked there for almost 2.5 years. And it's again the destiny, I think, because before when I was crafting my resume, maybe after 10 years of experience, people used to always ask me, from where to where you have come. There is no connection between your first job to now what you're doing and now what you want to do. Absolutely no connection. Because as a merchandiser, I learned the operations, how the industry works, how the production unit works, those things. From there, I jumped as a designer in Lovable for lingerie, that too. Not an outer garments at all, lingerie. But that gave me the basic idea of what is the basic garment which a body requires, because after that, whatever clothes women wear, it all depends on the lingerie. How it shapes their body is how the other clothes are also going to take the shape on their body. That is what I learned there. And there also, allowable is like, something like corporate culture, na? Come at 9, leave by 5. Nobody will question you what you have done, what you haven't done. It's like once in 3 months or once in 6 months you will have submissions. Only then you will be questioned why this is not done, why that. Daily basis, nobody follows up. But for me, going back to home at 5 was boring, because I've never been to home at 5 in the evening. It was always in the night. And 5 is like afternoon for me. I was like, what do I do going at 5 to home? So I started continuing working, like learning how to do the patterns for lingeries. So I started making patterns for my own designs. I was not dependent on the pattern maker for that. It's like there was a procedure. Designer will sit and design and select the fabrics, required fabrics, everything, and have to give the specification sheets. That goes to the pattern maker. He will make the patterns. The cutting master will cut the fabric, and then it goes to the sampling unit. The sample maker will stitch the samples. So it's like 4 to 5 days procedure. That used to annoy me. I'm like, I've designed today. Today only I want to see my sample. Why should I wait for 5 days? So
I finished my exam today. Tomorrow I'll start working.
So, So I learned pattern making and cutting, everything. Like, chalo, I designed, I cut. There are the cuttings here for my designs. It's ready. Give it to the sample maker and request them to make it in a day. And that's how I learned the whole thing about lingeries. So this pattern making, cutting, everything I used to do after 5. And in Lovable, there was a practice by my boss. He used to leave office after the staff leave. So always he used to check every department, what is happening, before he used to walk out. Beautiful. So he used to see me always sitting there and doing something after 5. And he came, and anyway, before that only we had good chemistry, because it was a joke for him that a kid went and gave a resume who had not completed 18, but she was waiting for her 18 years to complete. Then again she came back with resume, and that inspired him. Like, chalo dekh lenge kya hai isme type, And he told me also, you are here for the second time, soon after completing 18 years. So I want to give you a chance. That's how he gave me a chance. And then he asked me, what are you doing? And then I wanted to learn pattern making. I've learned and I'm doing all these things. And he was like, he was so happy to see that thing, From then, he started pulling me everywhere into all meetings and sourcing, meetings in Mumbai. Everywhere I started traveling with him. That gave me a lot of exposure again and a lot of importance also in the department, And then the Vanity Fair, if you know the brand, they wanted to come to India that time, and Lovell wanted to collaborate with them and bring their designs here and manufacture at Lovable and cater to the Indian market. And there was another brand, Try, for men undergarments. They also wanted to do the similar thing. So he confidently put me onto that project. And so it's like in just one company, I went there as a women's lingerie designer, and I got an opportunity to work for men's undergarments as well. So I learned quite a lot there as well about the body fitting and the required design elements in the undergarments for men. All those things, it's just happened. No, I was not planning for anything. It just happened. And a very senior person in the industry used to see me working, and he was just a consultant in that company. He used to help in sourcing special materials from China and from other countries and from Tripura as well. He used to see me and used to talk to me and all. He was somewhat impressed, I think. So he was helping another startup, which is Italian design house. to establish their office and work area, all those things. And then he came and spoke to me one day. There is a very good opportunity for you. Do you want to consider it? And I was like, why not? Because by then I was like, 2.5 years mein jo seekhna tha ho gaya idhar. I'll be only repeating the same work. Either it should be promotion. I was somehow from beginning I was never excited for the promotions chase. To be very frank, it took some time for everybody to understand why I say for me, always power mattered. Whether that is paying me so much or whether I'm in that designation or not, nothing mattered. Power means not doing the bossism. Power of taking the decisions for bigger projects, And so I used to feel happy. Oh, it is an important project to the company and I have the power to take the decision, So they trust me. That is what used to always boost me to do more and more and, somewhat that passion for that work, learning constantly, everything used to come from there. They trust me and that's what used to matter to me.
Beautiful. Yeah. I think, when you said power, I think two ways of looking at that. When it is useful, it is power. When it is not, it is force. Right? There's a person that I've learned the greatest from, an author, David Hawkins. And the title of the book is Power versus Force. And a very interesting thing that he says, power just exists. Force has to be exerted. And then he makes a connection. He says power is truth. Force is falsehood. And while in the short term, force might be seen to be winning, in the long term, power will always prevail. Truth will always prevail. Because there are versions of the truth. But there is only one truth. That truth will always prevail. So when you said this, right, and I was just curious, and you yourself explained, okay, I've done this. What next? What next?
Yeah.
Right. And I love the way that you said it. It is power, and it's not power of bossing over people.
Yeah.
Because power of bossing over people is this force.
Yeah.
Right? It comes from an insecure person. If I have to throw my designation, right, then that's force. Again, it links to the happiness helix. Power is when people like me, they want to listen to me, they want to do it for me. Unhappiness helix is when people don't like me and they're saying, let me do it for them. I'm pretty certain that when they want to do it, it'll be like that driver and that conductor, where they kept that seat aside for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm certain you've noticed this, that people, I gather you're as creative when it comes to cooking as well?
Oh, I love cooking.
Yeah.
I enjoy cooking, actually.
Yeah. So I say that when we taste the food, we can make out whether the person wanted to cook or they had to cook.
Cook, yes. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Small digression, but I'll tell you this. It's very important. It comes to my mind. You know that I'm also a motorcyclist. So once a very, very close friend of mine, he was on the podcast. He was the first guest on the podcast, Arun. He's an influencer and all of that. One of my dearest friends. So I restarted motorcycling thanks to him. The reason I'm sharing this story is we were in Goa. We had gone with a group of people, and in Goa they had taken over that entire cafe, bar, restaurant, whatever it is, and it was for our group. And Arun and I, we were sitting in a corner, and there was this lady who was singing. Divine. Absolutely amazing, right? And About 30 minutes, she sang and all of that. And then she took a break. And then, the band was playing, some music was playing, because obviously you can't have. So Arun and I was sitting at a corner, and I could see what was happening. Her lady, she went behind the stage into a place. And I could see that she was either in physical or emotional or mental pain. I could make out, right? I could make out that there was something that she was in pain. And then half an hour later, she comes back and she starts singing. Not a trace of that is seen. Again, half an hour later, she goes and sits down. We can make out that she was distressed. When it happened the second time, I called Arun and I said, Arun, take a look. Right? And we were chatting about it. And at that time, I was wondering, I assumed. I said, I used it for a different reason. There are some times when we cannot afford to show up less than 100%.
Yeah.
Because she might be a regular person at that restaurant. But if I were to be there and she was not doing her best job, I would go away saying that, this player's music is horrible. I'm also saying this that, if I find somebody who's not, thanks to that, my approach has changed. I said, maybe they're having a bad day.
Yeah.
That's my approach today. But that person turned up 100%. She turned up 100% in whatever she was doing. Wow. Right? And I'm saying this because I think in the creative space, right, I don't think people can be forced to create something useful.
Yes. True.
Right?
Yeah.
So the power versus force, we have to inspire, enable, empower people to produce the best that they can. So my question to you with all of this is, so Manisha, there's this, I was telling you the story about the lady, and I learned something very interesting, that I thought initially that she had to turn up as her best version all the time. Later on in life, I realized that she chose to turn up when she was performing. And it happens with me. When I'm in coach mode, everything is set aside. When I'm working with somebody, it really doesn't matter what's going on in my life. I'm a human being as well. And then I realized that is when I realized that she was choosing to turn up as her best version all the time. And I see that in myself. The question that I have is, what have been such instances in your life where you have chosen that, I'm choosing to do the best that I can. More importantly, why did you choose that? What was the inspiration for you to choose that? Rather than saying, oh my God, let me do it. Right? And have there been instances, a multi-part question, have there been instances where something was created, and I'm intentionally using the word something was created, and I'm not using adding the by you, right? Something was created, and you look at it and say, wow, right? What have been such experiences, and what have you learned, and what would you like to share about that? Because I'm sure there are enough and more people who would like to know. They might be feeling this, and they might be feeling, am I alone? Is this a fluke? And I'd like people to know it's not a fluke. I'm living proof of that. And if they have somebody like you in a completely different domain who also shares something like that, that will be amazing.
Okay. Talking about why I chose something, I chose only one thing, JS. It was designing. After that, many things joined to it. I did not choose anything. That's what in the beginning also I told you, it's a destiny. Like my journey in the fashion industry has been really like for somebody from outside, when they see like, what has she done from here to there to here, there to there. But for me, going from here to there to another point, from that point to something else, some different segment altogether, those are the things which have given me the experience, as an all-rounder. That's what gave me an opportunity to work with multiple products in fashion industry, with multiple brands, and gave me the opportunity to learn about different geographical fashion trends and their preferences and how they work, how they plan every season, all these things. Sitting in India, learning about all those things. These are the jobs which gave me opportunity, to learn. So I chose only one thing in my life, that is fashion designing, and rest all came as connecting dots to it.
Wow.
That's all. Wow. So my focus was always on designing. My focus was always on checking at the good works of other people, and if they are in certain position, why are they in that position? Why their designs are appreciated? I always used to do that, and even today, though I am into Indic designing and all I still follow international fashion weeks. Just to keep myself updated, who is doing what and what is the trend running all over the world, all those things. So, in one word, if I have to answer for that question, fashion, that's it.
I think, that's a lovely answer. And I think that's also a lovely place to take a break now.
Sure.
And probably when we come back, what I'd like to talk about and gain your inputs on your knowledge on, take a step back, origins of clothing, origins of fabric, the different kinds of fabric that are there, different processes. I'd also like to get your ideas, your thoughts, and your expertise on form and function, because today clothing has become a vanity thing, vanity fair, vanity thing. It started off as protection against the elements,
okay.
And it also then has now become a vanity thing. So form, function, the role of geography, the climate, the weather, the seasons, the kind of work, and the link to the kind of clothing that we are, that would be most appropriate for us. Also, I'd like to talk about the fact that the skin is the largest organ in the body. It's a living organ, right? And this is in touch with that largest organ all the time. So the importance of choosing the right kind of material, the right kind of fit, the right kind of clothing, the right kind of color, what is the chemical or preferably lack of chemicals in the clothing that we should be looking for.
Yes.
How do I blend the vanity bit with good health and function bit? So these are things that I think I'd like to talk to you in part 2.
Sure.
And in part 2, we'll decide whether there's going to be part 3 and then part 3 and part 4. But for now, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with all of this when we come back from the break. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. You'll have to wait because we'll be releasing this 1 week later. Stay tuned.